Our next guest says just two major events created the crisis. One, the failure to implement a Stability and Growth Pact into UK law early on, with Germany and France being in breach of deficit rules from the start, and more recently an EU summit last year which allowed the European Central Bank to buy peripheral bonds on the secondary market. Saxo Bank chief economist Steen Jakobsen says that basically means Euro bonds exist already, and he joins us now live from Denmark to explain why. Steen, always good to have you on the programme. Can you just explain your thinking about this? Here we have the ECB saying no Euro bonds, we have Germany saying the same thing, and here you are saying, hang on a minute, they're all over the place.
They are, certainly. I mean, the whole balance sheet of the ECB since May last year has become one easy European bond in the sense that it's guaranteed and owned by the government of Europe. So we are really playing with words in terms of the Euro bonds. But of course, what you discussed just now is more the direct issuance from some sort of a EU institution. But the ECB is already involved in having Euro bonds per se. And I will add as well, we have a fiscal union. Think about it. Portugal, Greece, Spain, and to some extent Italy don't have an independent fiscal policy anymore. That's a policy dictated by the Troika. Non-elected officials in Brussels dictating the policy, and the local parliaments has been reduced to just signing on whatever the Troika dictates. So, you know, we actually have both a fiscal union and a Euro bond in place already. But it doesn't take away the fact that there's still not enough money to finance all of these processes. And
that is the key, isn't it? Leveraging the rescue fund. That's what they're trying to look for. So where could the money come from? Is it the IMF, maybe?
No, I mean, if independent analysis shows that France and Italy added up over the next 3 years, each single year we need between 400 and 500 billion. That makes the whole talk about using the ESF futile. It makes the IMF futile unless you issue some more SDRs. What we need to look for is what I call the meeting of cardinals. I'm making the analogy to when you elect a new pope. You need to get all the policymakers into a room, and in that room you will not let them out before the white smoke is coming through the chimney. And the process needed to be established is, one, Germany needs to get some sort of stability and growth pact enacted into the EU institution. And secondly, the French and the peripheral countries will need the ECB balance sheet to be used even more than it is right now. But that is a long process, and I don't think it will happen before we are truly in what I define a crisis 2.0.
Yeah, that's a bit worrying. This is Linda Yueh. Can I ask you, a lot of the German and French leaders are now saying they could actually enact some type of fiscal union by the start of next year. What is the sequence and what is the timescale, in your view, that could happen over the next, over whatever period, to make sure that the crisis really is stemmed?
I think it's an excellent question because it goes to the timelines between the politicians vis-à-vis the markets. But let's be positive and say they're going to enact this sort of semi-fiscal union. Then basically they will need to take it to their respective parliaments and get a vote on it. And I think to some extent the French one will be going ahead pretty smoothly and inside, you know, January probably. The German one would be slightly more difficult because you have to remember that Merkel has sort of handcuffed herself in terms of the ESSF and any movement on the EU before she actually goes to the full parliamentary committee in Germany, in Berlin. So I would be very doubtful that we have anything, even being the most positive I can, that we have anything in place before February. And I think you and I both know that February is a long, long, long way from the market right now with the yields we see.
Well, we're talking about the markets. I mean, do you think this is really the last throw of the dice, that unless we get actually something concrete, the markets are actually going to turn on everybody involved and it's just going to be a bloodbath out there?
You have to say that we already have turned against everybody. The crisis has reached the core of Europe. Belgium and France see rising CDSs, see relatively high yields relative to the long-term trend. But I think it's very likely that we see some escalation if there is not anything concrete out of the meeting on the 9th and 10th of December. Having said that, you have to remember that we had 16 meetings of non-solution from the EU. So I don't know why the 17th one should be the one that actually makes a difference, but there's always hope.
There is always hope. Very finally, I think it's important to probably think about what could cause the ECB to step into the role that you described they already do. Again, what are the steps you think needs to be taken by the Eurozone to get the ECB to be that lender of last resort formally?
Well, I think it all hinges on the Germans and the German attitude to this, because the EU problem is a political problem, so the solution will also have to be political. So I think what we need to keep a close eye on is the movement on Merkel and her government partners in terms of their willingness and ability to go to the vault of the ECB and open up the doors. I have a hard time still seeing that they will do this without getting some quid pro quo in terms of getting anchoring of the debt breaks in Europe. And I think we almost have a catch-22 that you know, the two sides are standing so strongly on their points that movement's going to be difficult. That's why I think we need the meetings of the cardinals, to be honest.
Steen Jakobsen, Saxo Bank chief economist. I'm grateful to you. Thank you for bringing us your insight today.